Hey guys, welcome back. In the last lesson, we looked at downloading live tweets from Twitter using a Java program. In this lesson, our goal is to represent the tweet dataset in Hive and also perform some interesting analysis on the tweet dataset using Hive. Let's first discuss what we can analyze with the dataset. In our tweet dataset, we filtered only tweets which had food-related words. Now let's say I'm a restaurant owner and I want to find the influential people who are involved in the conversation about food in Twitter. Why this is so important to a restaurant owner? Because as a restaurant owner, I need to care about what influential people in the food industry talk about, so we can look up to them for feedback, suggestions, and more importantly, reach their followers. How do we know whether someone is influential or not? One way to find out is to look at the followers count of the Twitter user. More the followers, more influence the person has in his field. So we will order the tweets with users' followers count in descending order in our Hive query. Okay, we need to use the number of followers to find out whether the person is influential or not. We are also interested whether the user is engaging in a conversation with his tweet. Because tweets which are engaging can have wide reach. So how we can figure out whether a user is engaging in a conversation or not? We use hashtags in Twitter when we want to talk specifically about something, correct? For example, if I'm talking about Hadoop, I would mention hashtag Hadoop in my tweet. So when you use a hashtag in Twitter, which is more like either starting a new conversation or joining an existing conversation. So we want to filter tweets only with hashtags. So to summarize, we will look for tweets from users with high followers count and also tweets with hashtags in them. Now let's see how we can pull out followers count and tweets with hashtags from our Twitter dataset. Let's look at the user object first because it has properties that are of interest to us. It has screen name, followers count, location, etc. It basically gives us the information about the user sending the tweet. Don't you agree? It looks more like a class in Java with lots of properties in it. We can represent user object as a struct collection type in Hive. What is a struct? Struct is more similar to an object in Java or struct type in C. For example, within an object, you could have several properties defined and you can access each property inside the object by doing object name dot the property name. That is exactly how you would access an element of struct type in Hive as well. We can define the user as a struct type as shown on the right. Here user is the name of the column and the data type of the user column is struct. And list all the properties inside user you're interested in along with its data types. For example, name will be string, friends count, followers count are integers, etc. Now, if you want to find out how many followers users have in Twitter, you can simply say user.followers_count. And that will give you the number of followers following the Twitter user. Now that we know how to get information about the users and its number of followers, let's move on to the next problem. We need to know whether the user sending the tweet is involving in a conversation using a hashtag in his tweet. Let's see how we can find that. Entities has hashtag properties which we are interested in. Look at the highlighted hashtag property to your left. A tweet can have several hashtags and hence it can be defined as an array. This specific tweet has two hashtags, foodfest and foodscar. Interesting thing about the hashtag property is that if you look closely, you will see each element in the array has the property text, which has the actual hashtag in it. So hashtag can be defined as an array and each array element has a struct with text as property. And also hashtag itself is inside a struct called entities. So you have to define entities first as a struct. And inside that, you will have to define hashtags as an array, and each element in the hashtag is a struct. Can you see how nested this can be? So to access the text of the hashtag itself, we will say entities.hashtag0, the array element that is, .text. You may also notice that we are not defining all the elements in the dataset in our columns. For example, entities have so many other columns other than hashtags. But we are only interested in hashtags, so we are defining only for hashtag. This is possible because of the SERDI. For this table, we are not going to use the default SERDI that comes with Hive. We are going to use the JSON SERDI from Cloudera. This SERDI will allow you to parse JSON nicely. Also, your table does not have to define all the fields in the tweet. The SERDI will look at the table structure and map only the columns listed in the table with the dataset. We have everything we need to create the table against the tweet dataset. So let's go ahead and create the table. I've already created a database, so let's switch to that database. Use Twitter. All right. Here, first we are adding the Hive SERDI jar to our Hive session so that we can access Cloudera's JSON SERDI. Next, let's look at the table structure for tweets. We are defining 3 high-level elements in the table. First is the text, which is the actual text from the tweet. Second, entities column to get the hashtags. Finally, the user column to get the name and the followers count. We have the dataset under /user Hive input Twitter in HDFS. So we'll specify the location of the dataset using the location attribute, and we'll make our table an external table. So let's first add the SERDI in our Hive session. There you go. The SERDI is now added. Let's now go ahead and create the table. The table is now created. Now we are ready to query the table. The query itself is super simple. We're getting the top 5 users with hashtags in their tweet, ordering by the followers count, and limiting the results to list just the top 5. This will list top 5 users with most followers talking about food related stuff in tweet. Pretty cool, right? So let's execute this query against our tweets table. The query is now executing. Let's wait for the execution to complete. There you go. The execution is now complete, and here is our top 5 influential people who are involved in food-related conversations in Twitter. The first 2 users in our list have over 600,000 Twitter followers. And those 2 users are actually influential people. You can do a lot of interesting analysis using this Twitter dataset. Before we finish, I want to quickly speak about the last collection data type, which is map. Map is slightly different from a struct. Map is nothing but a collection of key value pairs. Let's say you have a JSON string like this. It has 2 key value pairs with keys first and last. So you can define name as a map with type string for key and string for value. So if you like to get the value of the key first from your map, you simply say name first, like it is shown on the screen. It is very similar to how you would access a hash map in Java. So in this lesson, we looked at 3 collection data types in Hive: struct, array, and map. And we learned how to use the collection types using the Twitter dataset, and we did some pretty good analysis with our dataset in Hive. With that, let's wrap this lesson. See you in the next lesson.